It's October the 10th, 2024, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful day so far today. I just want to start off today's video and just say that for anybody that was affected by Hurricane Milton, I really hope that all of you are safe and you didn't have a lot of damage to your property. I know a lot of people got evacuated out of the area, so if you did get evacuated and you're about to go back home, I hope everything's okay there. I know that we do have a lot of people here on this channel that are located in Florida, and even if you aren't on this channel, just for anybody that was affected by the hurricane, I've been praying for you guys, and I hope that everybody's all right. But what I want to talk about today is how that drink that you might be thinking about is not going to be as good as you think that it is. We always have this like nostalgic idea in our mind that drink is going to be like this wonderful thing. And I can say honestly from experience that it never is. I've spoken about this, but I tried quitting so many times. Many times, at least 100 times I tried to quit. I told myself every single day as I was laying down to go to sleep, if I even remembered what was going on, as I laid there and I'd have to throw one leg off the side of the bed and the room was spinning, because that would, if I didn't just pass out at night, that's what would happen. And I would lay in my bed and go, why did I get so drunk? Because I would feel horrible. I always had to take it to the next level. I just never knew when to stop. Never. I always had to go, if right here was a good level, I always had to go all the way up here. And I was one of those people that once I got drunk, if I was wasted drunk, well, I would just keep drinking. Because I always had this idea, and there's been so many people that I've spoken to that are like me, that if 5's good, then 20's great. And even if I was feeling awesome, I'd get a couple of good liquor drinks in, I just had to keep going. It was this idea that, I already feel good, well, I'm going to feel better. And that's just never the way it ended up. I would always just take it to the next level. And then, like I said, if I even remembered going to bed, as I laid there in my bed at night, the room would be spinning. I would feel like I'm about to throw up. I would just feel horrible when I laid down because I had gotten so intoxicated. And there were a lot of nights, too, that I would lay down in the bed and I would wonder to myself, am I actually going to wake up from this? Because I used to throw up in my sleep all the time. And I would often think to myself, am I going to throw up tonight? Because, I would have like liquid sloshing around in my belly. I'd go to lay down and I could hear the liquid in there sloshing around because I would drink so much liquid. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and be choking on my vomit. And there were a lot of nights that right as I was falling asleep, I would tell myself, I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow from this. Because I would just be that intoxicated. But I'm getting kind of off topic here. And what I wanted to talk about, like I said, is, we get this idea in our head. We start thinking about, drinking again, especially after we got a little bit of time under our belt. We start to think, okay, I've got this whip now. I've figured this out. I can control my drinking now. If we got like a month on our belt, 30 days or a couple months or a couple years or something, that little person on our shoulder will start to talk to us and tell us, it's okay. Go ahead and get yourself a drink. You could have a couple drinks this Friday night. And we'll start talking to ourselves, start talking ourselves into it. We'll start making excuses to ourselves. And, if you're not one of these people, then forgive me for what I'm talking about. But, I've spoken to so many people that have the same kind of things happen to them. They start to get that little person on their shoulder who starts telling them that it's going to be okay. Especially if we know we have something coming up. If there's a big event that's coming up, like a wedding or a party that we're going to be going to, we'll start telling ourselves, I think that I can probably handle it this time. I can have just 2 glasses of wine, or I can have just a couple of beers. I've got to go to this wedding on Saturday, and there's going to be people all over the place, and my anxiety is going to be high, because I get the same thing. I get anxious around a lot of people too, especially if I have to get up and speak in front of a lot of people. That's one of the things, anytime I had to do any kind of public speaking, I had to do a lot of that back in the day. I would always have a couple drinks before I would get up and speak in front of people, because I thought that I needed it. I thought that I couldn't do it without the alcohol to calm me down and relax me enough to be able to stand up in front of those people. I associated so many things with alcohol that I thought that I needed it because I couldn't do these certain things, these certain tasks without the alcohol being involved. And since I've been sober, I found out that actually that's not true at all. As a matter of fact, I do a much better job at those types of things when I'm not intoxicated because I can think on my feet. My mind's working so much better. This one time my brother got married, the second time my brother got married, I was at his wedding. I was, his best man in the wedding. And I didn't realize that I was going to have to get up and speak. And this was at the party after the wedding, at the rehearsal party or whatever it's called. It's been so long since I've been to a wedding now. I used to do weddings all the time. I used to cater them, but it was the party after the wedding. And anyway, I was at the table sitting with my wife, and I was so drunk. I mean, wasted drunk. And I had to get up and speak. My wife said, "Hey, you got to go get up on the stage and say a few words for your brother and your sister-in-law." And I was like, "What?" I didn't know I had to get up and talk. And she's like, "Yeah, you got to get up there." And I went up and embarrassed myself. And when I say I embarrassed myself, not only did I embarrass myself, but I embarrassed my brother and my sister-in-law. I went up there and made a fool out of myself up on that stage. And then on top of it, when I got done, I dropped the microphone on the ground. I was walked off stage. I thought I was being funny. And it looking back on it now, I look like an idiot. I look like such a jerk. And that's my brother's special day. He just got married, and I went up there and I embarrassed him. I just went up there and I thought I was being like a comedian when I got up on the stage. And, I've never looked at the footage. I know there's video of it, and I don't ever want to see it because of how I acted when I got up there. But my point is that I do a much better job when I have to do anything like that now that I'm sober, because I'm not, for one, I'm not acting like an idiot, and two, I can think, I can get up there and actually speak, and doing these videos every single day. If I was intoxicated, there's no way I could do this. There's no way I would be able to talk to you guys. My mind doesn't work properly when I've been drinking like that, and I wouldn't even be able to think properly enough to do these videos every single day. So it's just, drinking one, we don't function in a proper way when we're intoxicated. And it is possible to go to these parties, these events or whatever, sober. And like I said, it might not be the same kind of fun that you're used to, but I'll guarantee you that you will have a good time. And the best part about it is that after the event, when you wake up the next morning after going to that, you're not going to feel like a trash can. If I ever had something going, like say I had to go to a party on a Friday night for one of my friends, I already planned on spending the rest of the weekend just laying in the bed, because I would get so intoxicated on that Friday night that I had to spend the rest of the weekend nursing my hangover, and it would last days. So and then on top of it, you got to go get a bunch of fast food because you're too lazy to cook and you feel too bad. So, you're spending all this money on all this stuff. And then you got to spend money on Gatorade and all this other stuff to nurse yourself back to health. It's just not worth it. But back to my point, we get this idea, we start thinking about the alcohol, and we think that it's going to be so good, that we think that it's going to, we're going to get so relaxed and we're going to feel so great after we have that drink. Because if you have any amount of time under your belt, we kind of forget a little bit what it feels like. And we start thinking about it. It's just something that keeps crossing our mind. And I know I still think about alcohol. I still to this day. especially this past couple of weeks with the hurricane and everything. When I got up that morning, the first thing I thought about was, man, it'd be nice if I had a case of beer right now. I could drink some beer and take care of all this stuff. That wouldn't have fixed anything. If anything, it would have just made things worse. But I didn't drink. I thought about it. And that's why I'm talking about this today, because if you're having those thoughts going through your mind at all, and you're thinking about how nice that drink would be, especially if you've got a good amount of time under your belt. You've got a few months or a couple of years or something on your belt. It's been a while since the last time you've had a drink. You start getting those nostalgic thoughts. You're thinking about, like I always say, that time that you went to the beach and you had a great day at the beach drinking beer and it was just a good day. Or you went to the river and spent the day on the river drinking, or went to the lake and drank beer all day long in the lake and just had a great day, or went to some party and it was a great day, or whatever it is, because we've all had those good days when we were drinking, where we didn't wake up the next morning and felt bad. We drank just the right amount to where we had a good time, we didn't pass out, and we wake up the next morning and we feel a little bad, but not that bad. And those are the times that we start remembering and thinking about. But it's never as good as your mind is trying to tell you that it's going to be. And I can honestly say this from my experience and from speaking to so many other people. Anytime that I would quit and get a couple weeks under my belt or whatever, I would start getting those nostalgic thoughts again and start thinking about it. And before you know it, it was like muscle memory. I had gone to the store and I was right back at my house with that black bag in my hand. And every time that I went and got liquor too, I always had to buy those shooters. And before I even made it home, I was already drinking a shooter. I'd be driving down the road drinking a Fireball. And, I had this thought in my head when I would get that liquor, like this, I'm going to have such a great day. I get to sit around and drink all day long. My wife would be at work or whatever, and I would be thinking to myself, I'm only going to drink this much. I'm not going to get totally intoxicated. I'm going to stay sober enough so that she doesn't catch on to what I've been doing. I'm only going to have a few drinks and then I'm going to stop and I'm just going to chill out the rest of the day. Well, that's never what happened. What always ended up happening is I'd go to the liquor store, I'd get a few shooters of Fireball, and I'd get my bottle of vodka, and then I'd be on my way home. And as I was driving home, I'd have that little bottle of Fireball in my hand, and I'd be thinking about, do I really want to do this? Is this really what I want to do? And I would, look at it, sit in the parking lot, just kind of look at the bottle, think about it for a minute, like, is this really, really what I want to do? And then I would crack that little top on that bottle, take a sniff, smell that cinnamon liquor, and I think to myself, am I sure that I want to do this? And I tell myself, yeah, absolutely, because you're going to have a good time. You deserve this. You've gone a couple weeks without drinking. You deserve the opportunity to have a couple drinks today. You've done so well. You've got this under control now. You can just have a couple drinks and then stop and then control your drinking from now on. And if we can keep it under control, we can hide it from everybody and no one will ever know. And then what we can do is, these are all the things I used to tell myself. I would tell myself, I'm going to drink undercover for a period of time. And then I'm going to go to my wife and say, see, look, I told you I could control it. I'm drinking just a little bit. I didn't drink that much. I've drank for the past couple of weeks. I've only had like 2 or 3 mixed drinks every single day. I've got this under control now. I always told myself that's what I was going to do. It was like I was going to show my wife. I was going to show myself, show my wife, show everybody else around me that was always giving me a hard time about the amount of alcohol that I drank. I was going to just go back to drinking, keep it under control this time, and then I was going to prove it to them and say, look, I can do this. That's never how it worked. Like I said, I would crack that little bottle open, take a look at it, take a little sip out of it, and I'd go, I don't know. And then I would just go ahead and slam it. And as I was driving home, after I just slammed that little, it was always that, like, the double shot shooter of the Fireball. I think they were like 2 for $4 or something like that. And after I drank that first shooter, on my way home, I would start to feel that warm feeling all over. And then I would get home, and then I would go ahead and make my first mixed drink. and then I would go sit on my back porch. I did this every single time. This is how it always worked. And when I say I did this every time, I'm not kidding. It was every single time. I would make myself a mixed drink, and I always had to pour tons and tons of liquor in there. You know, we're talking about like a 5-6 finger glass of liquor, and then, you know, just a splash of a mixer in there. And then I would go sit on my back porch, and I'd light up a cigarette, and then I would start sipping on that drink, and then I would start to really drink it. And, you know, I always had this idea. I would get so excited about finally getting that drink again, you know, and this time I'm going to control it. And as I drank that first drink down, you know, I had this idea in my mind that I was going to feel so great. And that's never what happened. As a matter of fact, it was always a letdown when I would, you know, get that first drink in after that shooter. You know, like I said, I had this feeling that I was going to feel like so great. I was going to be all euphoric. And that's never what happened. As a matter of fact, I would start feeling horrible about myself because it was a letdown. I didn't feel the way that I thought that I was going to feel. And, you know, my tolerance was still super high. So then I'd have to drink half gallon of vodka to even get anywhere. And as I started to get drunk, I would realize, you know, one, I can't go anywhere now. Now I'm stuck at home again because I'm too intoxicated to drive anywhere. Two, my wife's going to come home now. She's going to know I'm drunk because I'm probably going to be passed out by the time she gets here. And when she goes in there to wake me up, when she wakes me up, she's going to smell the booze all over me. You know, and then another thing too is that I would end up getting drunk, passing out, leaving the bottle of vodka just laying around somewhere because I would always fall asleep and just leave it. So my wife got home from work, there'd be a bottle of vodka just sitting on the counter. I never could hide it because I would get so drunk, forget that I left it out, and then I'd pass out. And another dead giveaway that I always had as well is I didn't drink Sprite or cranberry juice unless I was mixing it with vodka. It just one of those things. Just didn't drink those things. I would go to the store and buy a big bottle of Sprite or a bottle of cranberry juice, and I just leave it sitting out. My wife knew right there that the reason I had those mixers is because I was mixing it with vodka. You know, I didn't drink cranberry juice. I didn't drink Sprite unless I was pouring it over ice with some of that liquor. So that, you know, if I did hide the bottle, I would forget to put the Sprite away or forget to put the cranberry juice away, and she would know right away. You know, she'd come in the house, there sitting on the counter is a 2-liter of Sprite that's halfway empty, or a bottle of cranberry juice is in the fridge, it's half empty, and she knew right then. She's like, why'd you buy Sprite? Why'd you buy cranberry juice? You know, if I was smart enough to get the bottle hidden, which half the time I didn't. I would go lay down, start watching TV and pass out, or I'd have the bottle sitting right beside me in the bed. It'd be sitting on the floor or sitting on the bedstand right beside me, and I would pass out and leave it there. And she'd come home from work, I'm busted. So now, you know, I'm completely drunk. I feel like trash whenever I wake up. And now my wife's angry at me and she's screaming at me going, I thought that you weren't drinking anymore. And the whole experience I thought was going to be this great experience was not all it was cracked up to be. As a matter of fact, I was completely ashamed of myself after I had that drink. I felt guilty. I felt like a piece of crap every time that I would do it. And it was never what I expected it to be. It just wasn't. It was always something different. And that's my point for today's video, is that if you're getting those thoughts, if you've got that little devil on your shoulder that keeps telling you, go ahead, get yourself a bottle, get yourself some beers, get yourself a bottle of wine, whatever. You've got this under control this time. It's going to be so good. You're going to be so relaxed. You know, you're going to enjoy it so much. You deserve it. You know, we tell ourselves we deserve it. We done so good this time. We were able to not drink for X amount of time, so now we deserve that drink. As soon as you mix that drink or get that beer or pour that glass of wine and you drink it, it is not what you thought it was going to be. And now you have all this guilt, all this shame, all these bad feelings. You've broken the trust with your loved ones again, that you promised that you weren't going to drink again. Now they're not going to believe you again. Trust is one of those things. It takes a lifetime to build and a second to lose. Why lose it? I was just having a conversation with my son earlier today, and we were talking about trust. And I was telling him, because it's a long story, but I was telling him, I was like, one of the things about life is that when we have trust, that is the most important thing that we can have in our life, is integrity and trust. Because when people believe in us, people trust us, there's so much more that we can get out of life. I've got a friend of mine that would, he tells me to come over to his house sometimes to, get this or grab that, or I go over and help him out with things sometimes. And I've got the key to his house. I've got the code to his gate to get in his house. I mean, everything. He has 150% trust in me. He knows I'm never going to take anything from him. I'm not going to do anything to any of his stuff. And that is like the best feeling in the world, to know that somebody has that much trust in me. Back in the day when I was a drinker, people didn't believe anything I said. People knew I was full of it because I was always lying. I would show up places intoxicated and say I hadn't had a drink. And, how can anybody ever believe me when I was always lying to everyone I knew? Especially when you show up somewhere and they're like, man, have you been drinking today? And oh, no, I haven't had anything to drink. And you reek of booze. You're slurring your words. Do you want to go back to that again? Do you want to go back to all that again? People calling you and, asking you if you've been drinking. And, you're sitting there on the phone telling them, no, I've had one drink. And they're like, okay, sure. They can tell just by speaking to you. Like myself, I'm a pretty quiet guy. I don't have a whole lot to say most days. You get some drinks in me though, I won't shut up. I'll just keep going on and on and on. And people know right away. But people that know me, they know when I've been drinking. They know when I'm intoxicated. They know right off the bat. Because for one, the way I look, I get what they call the crazy eyes. I'm like looking off in two different directions when I'm intoxicated. 2, I'm slurring my words. 3, I say all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And those are the times, like I've said, those are the times that I pick fights with people. Those are the times that I always want to bring up things that upset me. Because most of the time, I don't say anything. If somebody upsets me about something, I just don't say anything. For the most part, if someone upset me, I just won't speak. And I'll just move on. I don't have time for negativity or arguing with people or any of that kind of stuff. But you get a couple mixed drinks in me, now I want to argue. Now I want to tell you how I feel about whatever the situation is. Now is the time that I want to talk about how you spoke to me 2 weeks ago on the telephone or whatever. Those are the times that I decide that I want to start talking about those things. And that's how people pick up on that I've been drinking. I can't tell you how many times I showed up somewhere or called somebody or whatever, and they knew immediately. People would go, "You've been drinking today?" And I'd go, "What makes you say that?" And they would go, "Look at you, man. Your face is all red." I mean, it's obvious. And, like, I've had some people comment and say, "Oh, your face is red lately." My face, when I've been drinking, my face is so red, it turns almost purple. When I get to drinking, because like I was talking about yesterday, my blood pressure goes through the roof when I'm drinking alcohol, and my face will turn purple. I'll start all those little marks in my skin, those little lesions. I can't remember what they're called, but you get them from drinking alcohol, and all those start showing up, and they're all right here on the side of my face. Those will really start coming through, and this is a roofing tar that I've got on my hands right now, if you guys are wondering, but they'll start showing up all on my face. I mean, you can't miss it. This whole side of my face, I don't really have them right here, but they're on my nose and this side of my face. So all across my nose and right here, you'll start seeing all those like varicose veins coming out of my face, and it's obvious. But back to my point, and I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, is that if you have been thinking about drinking, and, it's been something that's been on your mind for quite some time now, and that little person on your shoulder keeps telling you, go ahead and have that drink. It's going to be okay. You've got this under control now. You've gone this long without drinking. You really can control it this time. Number one, no, you can't. There's no controlling it. You might have it under control for a couple of days, maybe even a week, maybe 2 weeks if you really got it. But I promise you, that's not going to last forever. You will go back to drinking like you were before or worse. It's just the way that it works. I have spoken to so many people at this point that have AUD, and all of them have told me the same thing. They all thought that they had it under control. They all relapsed, went back to drinking, and when they went back, they went right back to the way they were drinking before, and or worse. And it just never works out. It's not worth it. You know, if you've got any time under your belt right now, you've got any amount of sobriety, those days that you had to go through with all those withdrawals, feeling uncomfortable, it's never a comfortable feeling having to go through that. You know, you're restless, you have restless leg syndrome, you can't sleep at night, you're tossing and turning, pacing back and forth all over the place. You know, the constant thinking about going to the store to get a drink. You know, you went through that hell to get where you're at right now. Do you really want to go through all that all over again? Do you really want to have that guilt and that shame back again? Do you want to break the trust with all of your loved ones and friends and go back to drinking again and no one's going to believe a word that comes out of your mouth all over again? Do you want to go back to feeling like trash every single day, waking up with a hangover every single day? Do you want to go through that week-long period of those horrible withdrawals when you try to quit again? You know, do you want to start all over again? And I'm not saying, once again, relapse is part of the journey. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But we need to do everything that we can to avoid relapsing. Because it is. When you relapse, it sucks. It's not fun. You have to go through that whole uncomfortable period all over again. And then it's a mind game. You know, you got to think about it. You feel bad. You feel bad about yourself. You feel like a failure because you went back to drinking again, and you're not a failure if you did. I'm not saying that one bit. I've said this over and over again, but you're a failure when you stop trying. You know, we all are human beings. We all make mistakes. We all go, do things that we didn't mean to do. You know, if you've got 10 years on your belt and you just relapse, it's not a big deal. And all that time that you had in the past, all that time of sobriety, that didn't just go out the window. All that time still counts. You went all that time. You stayed strong for 10 years or whatever it is. That time still matters. That is important. You know what a sober life is like, and you know that it's worth living. So don't beat yourself up and go, I have to start all over from day one, all over again. No, don't even do that. Don't even worry about counting your time. You know, if you relapse, start back over. Just don't get rid of whatever alcohol you've got and start over again. And that's another thing too, before I get off of here, is that if you're quitting drinking, if you're new to this channel, if you're just now about to start drinking, about to stop drinking, and you're trying to work through the steps to do it, the one thing that you really need to do is get rid of whatever booze are in your house. Get rid of them. There is no reason to keep that there. There's no reason to have that temptation laying around. You know, if you're like, I'm going to keep this just in case, there is no just in case. You don't need it anymore. If you're going to quit, just get rid of it. Pour it out, throw it in the trash, take it to the dump, or put it in your trash can, get rid of it. Because if you've got a 12-pack of beer that's sitting in your fridge, every time you open it up, it's going to be a reminder, and it's going to be talking to you. It's going to be something that's going to make you want to relapse. Or if you've got this bottle of liquor that you've got, and you're like, I'm just going to keep this just in case. You know, I'm going to keep it there, to remind myself while I'm staying sober. Or I'm going to keep it there just in case, one day I just need a drink. If you keep that bottle or bottles or whatever, if you keep any alcohol in your house, that day is going to come. You will find a reason to drink again, and you're going to get back into your stash. Just get rid of it. Get it out of your house. Get it out of your line of sight. You do not need it there anymore. It's just going to play games with you. So don't keep that stuff around. Pour it out. Throw it away. Get it out of your house. Get it out of your vehicle. Go through all your stuff. Go to all your hiding places. See if you've got any bottles hidden, and get rid of them. Because if you're anything like me, I had a million stash places, and still to this day I still find bottles. It was just a couple months ago that I made a video. I had to go underneath my house, and there was a half of a bottle of vodka up underneath there. I poured it out, threw it away. But, you know, surprise, surprise, I go underneath the house and there it is. And like I said, I still find bottles. I still find bottles out in the woods. I find bottles everywhere, still to this day, 2.5 years later almost. Because I hid alcohol everywhere. So if you know where it is, trash it. Go to all your hiding places. Trash it. Get it out of there. You don't want to end up coming across one of those bottles. It's just going to tempt you. It really is. There's no reason to have that stuff laying around anymore. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you're starting to think about having that drink, it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's not. It's not going to feel like you think it's going to feel. You're not going to get this warm, euphoric feeling. As a matter of fact, you're going to feel like crap about it. You know, you might feel euphoric for a second, but you're going to start to feel guilty. You're going to regret that you drank it because it's not what it's cracked up to be. It's what your mind is telling you that that drink's going to be like is not going to be like that. I can promise you. I've talked to so many people who have relapsed, and it's not what they thought it was going to be. You know, it's like speaking with Slayer not so long ago. You know, he relapsed recently. You know, he had this idea that alcohol was going to be so great, and after speaking to him, he was like, "It's not what I thought it was going to be at all. I thought it was going to be XYZ, and then I drank it, and it was not. And it was a letdown. And then I had to go through that whole process all over again. And it's not one of those things where you go, oh my gosh, this is so good. No, as soon as you have that drink, you're like, this isn't what I thought it was. Why did I just do that? That's what you're going to be telling yourself. I promise you. So just don't even think about it. Pour it out, throw it away. That stuff is poison and it's trash. Get it out of your house. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here for today. Thank you so much for watching today's video. And don't let your mind trick you. It's just your mind tricking you. It's your mind playing games with you and trying to tell you that you need it when you really, really don't. Life is so much better on this side, being sober and not having all that stuff to worry about anymore. Because that's all it is. It's nothing but trouble. It's nothing but you know, it's going to cause you nothing but health problems. It's going to cause nothing but relationship problems with everybody. You know, your loved ones, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, anybody. It's going to cause problems. They're not going to be happy with you that you went back to drinking again. Just stay sober. It's the best way to live. I can promise you that. And like I said, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Just get it out of your house. Get it out of your mind. You don't need it. Just stay sober today, guys. I love y'all so much. I'll see y'all in tomorrow's video. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye.